Hi. So we finally got the SBA note. Client of mine was approved. Today's April 17th. He was approved yesterday, April 16th. And I'm going to go over the documents with you so that you can understand when you get your PPP note what you're looking at. So let's get started. Now, this is the approved Citibank note. My client, obviously, we redacted all the identifying information so that, it's his privacy. He doesn't want anybody to know, but we can still talk about the document because there's really nothing private in the document itself. All right, this is the important thing. There's a loan number, the SBA is here. Now, this date right here is super important, April 16th, 2020. That means that that's when the loan was originated. I'm not sure if he got the money yet. I'll call him a little bit later. It's a little early in the morning, but we'll talk to him a little bit later, see if he got the money or not. But it doesn't matter because this date is really important for what we're going to talk about. The loan amount, let's just throw out a number out there just so that make it easy for me, of $10,000, okay? So let's say that this person got a loan of $10,000, all right? So at 1%, the borrower, this is the name of the company, it's not the name of the person, it's the name of the company, and the name of the bank, Citibank, and then their maturity date of 4/14/2022. That's 2 years, a little over 2 years from the date of April 16th of this year. So what does that mean? We're going to talk about that, but basically this person has 2 years to pay off the $10,000 if he doesn't go for the loan forgiveness. Now there's a 1% interest, it's pretty low, so you make the calculations. Now let's look at the document in these different sections. Okay, we're going to go back to the document. Section number 1 here, I put a little red 1 so you could see a little bit better. This basically says that yes, this is a real loan and you do promise to pay it back. So you're going to have to pay this back. It's not something that's completely free, even though it's very cheap. So let's not use this. Let's not think this is a free party because you do going to have to pay this back. Now this other stuff here we're going to have to worry about. Number two, this is super important. Again, remember, this is a real loan. So there's going to be some terms in here about paying it back. So this is where this comes in, number two. Number two says that for the 6 months, that basically there's a deferment period of 6 months where no payments are due. So we go back to the date of April 16th, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. So October 16th, 6 months, no payments due until October 16th of this year, of 2020. So it's a free ride until then. You don't have to worry about anything. And then as soon as the 6 months are done, you're going to have to start making payments, which we're going to talk about how that works in a second. But just so you understand, this is not a complete free ride where there's never any payments due. Now, let's talk about number 3. Number 3 is the most important part of this whole document, in my opinion. It's the loan forgiveness part. It's actually a little complicated. It's a little hard to understand, but we need to go through it so you get what's happening when you sign this document. Loan forgiveness, number 3. Let's read it. Borrower may apply through lender for forgiveness of the amount due on the loan and the amount equal to the sum of the following costs incurred by the borrower during the 8-week period or other period beginning on the date of the first disbursement of the loan. So we're going to go back. Remember, it was April 16th. So he's got 8 weeks from April 16th to spend his $10,000. Now, what can he spend it on? Payroll costs, which is the most important thing. This is the thing that we have to understand. This is a payroll loan. So you got to spend, and we're going to talk about this down here in a second, but at least 75% of the money has to go to payroll if you're going to ask for any forgiveness. So $7,500 of my friend's $10,000 has to go to payroll. So if he doesn't spend $7,500 on payroll in the next 8 weeks, he's going to have to pay that money back to the SBA. So there's other costs here. So any mortgage payment, rent obligation, and utility payment. So the 25% is in this B, C, and D. So he can spend $7,500 on payroll, $2,500 on these other things. Now, so he's got 8 weeks to do that. Now, this is super important. This is the most important thing. This 25% doesn't mean that you can take $2,500 of the $10,000 example that I gave you and throw a party or go buy yourself a new IMAC. You have to use that money for the rent and utilities. Anything else, then you're gonna owe that money back. So that's super important. Now, the thing that I don't fully understand, and we're gonna have to go back and maybe analyze this document again, is what happens if you did this 90% correct, meaning that you spent a little bit less than 7,500 the 8 weeks, or it took a little bit more. How it's gonna to all this, it doesn't really get into it. That's something I guess we're gonna find out in a couple months or in 6 months when people start applying for the forgiveness. We'll see if they're actually going to forgive you, even if you weren't perfect. I'm assuming that if you were close, they're not going to, penalize you. Also, I don't know if you spent 60% on payroll. Does that mean that all of a sudden you're going to have to, that other 15% is unforgivable? I'm not sure, but that's what we'll see what the deal is with that eventually. I'm assuming. Okay, so let's go back to the document. Now, this talks about prepayment. I really don't think anyone's going to prepay this thing, but maybe. Who knows? That basically means that you can pay it back early if you want. This talks about default. Pay it if after the 6 months. If you are owing payments, make the payments, or else you default. That talks about all that. Now, this is the super important part right here. This number 4. So number 4, and I did a previous video on this. Basically, can I keep the SBA money as the PPP money? Now, this is where this comes in. I told my client, we talked about this, and number 10 is non-recourse. Let me read it to you. Lender SBA shall have no recourse against any individual shareholder, member, partner, or borrower for non-payment of the loan, except to the extent such that shareholder member uses the loan proceeds in authorized purpose. So basically, as long as you do what you have to do with this, you're not going to get sued. Now, one thing here, which I don't see, there's no personal guarantee anywhere in this document, which means that the individual owner is not on the hook. This is signed that as the case may become obligated under the note. There's no personal guarantee. It's only for the name of the borrower, the company. It's not the name of the person. So again, in my opinion, it doesn't look like these things are going to be there's any personal guarantee. There's no credit check to get these things. So I'm assuming that they can only go after the company if you default. Now, this is really important here. Number 5, which is H, borrower shall use all loan proceeds solely for what's required under the CARES Act. That basically is what we're talking about. You can't take your 10 grand that we talked about in my example here and go buy yourself a really nice computer and some camera equipment to do YouTube shows. You're going to have to spend that money on your payroll. So that's basically what we have here. Now, there's a couple open questions and things that we don't know yet. Number 1, the personal guarantee part here, it doesn't seem like there's a personal guarantee, even though there is a section here that talks about each individual or entity in the case may become obligated under their note as a borrower. This note as borrower. Now, oh, I see. This is for legal entities, which is the name of the company here, and this is for sole proprietors. I guess sole proprietors will be personally liable. That's what it seems like to me when I'm reviewing this. So if you're a sole proprietor, you're signing this, you're going to be responsible personally for this. If it seems like if you own a corporation, then the corporation is responsible, not the owner. So to recap, let's go back real quick. I know everyone's really busy. Couple things. Number 1, this is a real loan. So if you take the money out, you're expected to pay it back. It's super low interest, but you're going to have to pay this back at some point if you don't apply for the forgiveness and you don't do this perfectly. Number 2, the loan forgiveness. You have to use 75% of the money for your payroll. 25% needs to go for rent and other utilities. That's it. You cannot use that money for advertising or anything else. If you do, you run the risk of basically having to pay this back. Now, the open question is, If you use only partial part of the money for this, what happens? Do you owe the whole amount? Do you only owe the amount that you didn't use for payroll? I'm not sure. That's not in this document, so I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. I guess we're going to have to see when the lawsuits start happening, when this is all over. Number 4, there's a non-recourse language in here, which basically means that the government, the SBA, can't sue you only on what if you do something wrong with the document. I mean, with the loan. It's pretty flimsy. It's not a personal guarantee. It's not what you usually see when you get one of these loans that you personally guarantee to pay no matter what, that sort of thing. Number 5, the proceeds have to be used for what the SBA wants you to use it for, which is payroll and utilities and rent or mortgage payment for your business. The mortgage payment is for your business, so don't get too crazy paying your personal mortgage with it. So that is that. And then again, the open question, the big open question is there a personal guarantee? I'm not sure. Doesn't seem like there is, but we'll see what happens with that. Now, that's it for now. Diego Mendez, I'm a bankruptcy lawyer here in Miami, Florida, and my channel, Debt Law TV, I talk about all these different things. So I'll be doing more shows like this. Subscribe, and you'll see more of my programs about different aspects of the PPP and other legally related questions. Thank you very much.